monitors. There are so many of them, but which one to choose? That's a question I constantly see asked on this channel. So let's check out one of the latest monitors from benq, which even has its own MacBook mode for Mac users. This is the PD3205U. It's designed for those who sit in front of their computers for hours on end and need to stay productive. It's also a part of benq's Design View series, which are particularly well suited to workflows on the professional side, like AutoCAD, 3D design or animation, or photo and video production. It's a 31.5-inch 4K IPS panel, and you can also get a 27-inch version if you prefer. It also has USB-C connectivity, so you can connect your laptop with a single cable, and it also has a couple of extra features that most other monitors don't have. But first, let's get the standard stuff out of the way, and I'll also put chapters down below if you want to watch specific sections. Starting with build quality, I can sum it up in 3 words: good, but unremarkable. The chassis consists of sturdy plastic. The color scheme is a very neutral dark gray so that it fits with any style of setup. I'm not a fan of how thick the chassis is, especially when compared to other monitors, like this one from Dell. The front bezels are thin. benq calls this Infinity Edge. I do like that there's no obnoxious logo on the bottom bezel, although there is one on the stand and also on the back. Speaking of the stand, it is very sturdy, made from solid metal and coated in the same plastic as the monitor chassis. Now, I personally prefer these flat stands because you can easily store hubs or docks on top of them. Adjustability is good, although I wish it went just slightly higher. Portrait mode is possible, but a little tricky due to the sheer size of the panel. There is some slight wobble when using the stand, but you also get a standard VESA mount on the back should you prefer a monitor arm. Moving on to ports and connectivity, you'll get a USB-C connection with 90 watts of power delivery so that your laptop can be attached directly to the monitor to charge, output a video signal, and gain access to any accessories attached to the monitor. You'll get a couple of USB-C and USB-A ports at the back, as well as on the side with an added 3.5mm audio out connection. You also get a KVM switch, which auto pairs with input signals, and this allows you to switch between 2 different computers at the click of a button, while using the same keyboard and mouse attached to the monitor. For example, if you run both Mac and Windows systems like I do. The menu and function buttons are located on the back, as well as a control joystick giving you access to the simple but surprisingly nice to use menu system. Next up, we have the panel, or what you'll be staring at for 8 hours a day. It's a 31.5-inch IPS panel with a 16:9 aspect ratio. There is also a 27-inch version if you prefer the smaller size, and the resolution is 4K, which works out to be 140 ppi, or pixels per inch. Much better compared to, say, a 1440p panel, but not as good as the much more expensive Apple Studio display with a 5K resolution. Although, don't forget, the Studio display is smaller at 27 inches. Text and lines on the panel are crisp, with minimal scaling issues when using a MacBook, but again, not quite as good as the Studio display with its native macOS resolution. Viewing angles are also good, but max brightness is only around 250 nits. But this is to be expected for these types of monitors, because, particularly for design workflows, you don't want the brightness to be more than roughly 200 to 250 nits to ensure color accuracy. For productivity workflows with Word documents or web browsing, the brightness will only be an issue if you're sitting in an extremely bright room with glare from the sun, for example. Moving on, color accuracy is quite good here. You'll get 99% of both the sRGB and Rec 709 color spaces. Rec 709 is traditionally the more popular and standard color space to work in, although DCI P3 is starting to become more common. So this monitor is not a good choice if you're working in that P3 color space. The panel is also Kalman verified and Pantone validated, which in layman's terms means a strict color validation and calibration process by independent third parties to ensure maximum color accuracy. Now, this isn't just an advertising gimmick. benq has to actually ship the display into Pantone for testing and validation. In addition, Pantone has gone another level deeper with an even stricter process called Pantone Skin Tone Validated. I won't go into too much detail here because this is really an entirely separate video, but what this means is that the colors on this monitor are going to be accurate, a process which benq calls AQ color. The color profiles have also been calibrated to your specific panel, which means you may not need to buy an expensive monitor calibrator. Although, if you're a photo or video professional, you'll likely already have this anyway. In the box, you get a color calibration sheet from Calman showing a delta E value well below 2. And from my research online, it seems that pretty much all of these monitors come factory calibrated with a delta E value of around 0.2, which is very, very good. But overall, I'd argue that the color accuracy on this monitor is actually better than the Apple Studio Display, which is more than twice as expensive. As long as you don't need DCI-P3, of course. And especially if you're a creative or designer, this is a pretty good bang for buck, especially if you work with a lot of skin tones, like portrait photography, for example. You also get several built-in color profiles, your standard sRGB and Rec. 709, and also a MacBook mode, which aims to replicate the colors and contrast of the typical MacBook Retina screen. I found it wasn't quite an exact match, but it's certainly better than other monitors, notably Dell and LG, which typically have a very washed out or sometimes too contrasty profile. The last profile is a low blue light mode, which works in conjunction with what benq has dubbed their eye care technology. This might be a bit of a marketing gimmick, but I do sometimes get blurry vision and dry eyes with extended monitor usage, and it's hard to say exactly how much of an effect this eye care technology has, but over the month I used this monitor, I didn't really experience any of these symptoms, and it is nice to see that benq places such an emphasis on the health of their users. You'll also get a handy Hotkey Puck that sits on your desk, allowing you to switch between color profiles, inputs, and change monitor settings. Now, I didn't think I'd like this and it'd just be more clutter on my desk, but I did change my mind because of one feature. The rotating dial allows you to change the brightness of the monitor. Now, the light levels in my office change at least 3 times a day. Bright morning, afternoon sun, and dark evening, and I often have to change the monitor brightness to match if I want natural light. It is really nice to be able to simply scroll on that puck and match the brightness of my monitor to whatever the natural ambient light is lighting the room from my windows. Overall, I have to give this monitor a thumbs up. I mean, it's not flashy, but it's got a lot under the hood, and its level of color accuracy is just something you can't get at this price level. Even if you're not a designer, those specialized modes for MacBooks, animation, AutoCAD, or just the low blue light mode and eye care features are tempting if you're going to be staring at this thing for 8 hours a day. Sure, it doesn't have those juicy features like Thunderbolt, DCI-P3, or Adobe RGB colors, but if you want those premium features, you're gonna have to pay for it. And at the moment, this monitor is $750 US, which I think is pretty good value for what you get, especially compared to some of the other 4K 32-inch monitors out there. Like this one from Dell I reviewed a few months ago. But apart from that, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.